All right, people, let's have a look at this roll between Chris and Peter. We'll look at this from Chris's point of view on the right here. So starting off with the collar tie and pretty good footwork here, but we do want to avoid our legs being in too straight of a line. I'll just kind of cruise through most of this wrestling part here, but we do want to avoid our legs being too narrow. It makes us off balance and difficult to shoot. And we start getting in on the legs here and we are being sprawled on. We're still chasing that single leg. And then we end up in this 4-point position and backing out. So if we go back to this spot where we can see the shot here, let's look at what's going on. So some good hand fighting. Chris has got good inside position and decently loaded legs here. And then looking to change levels and shoot for the single leg. But you can see that our body is turned away a little bit, making it a little bit more difficult to drive straight towards our partner. So generally we want to stay a little bit more square to our partner and change levels and keep our feet pointing straight at our partner. Now, in a spot like this is an excellent opportunity for a reshoot. So if this right hand can get to the leg as well, then what we can do is keep both hands in contact with the back of Peter's thighs, look to lift our knee up off the ground and then reshoot that left knee underneath our partner's hips so that we can get our body back to a more vertical position so that we have more power with our shot. So looking to reshoot there would get our hips back underneath us and leave us in a more athletic position. And now here, when we're being sprawled on and we're only just holding onto the back of the leg, this is a good time for a sit out or a peek out. I can never remember which one it is. But what that would involve is putting two hands on the mat, looking to lift our knees up off the ground, and then trying to sit out by getting our head to the outside as we row this left arm backwards to clear Peter's over back grip here, and then that way we can either get our head behind our partner's shoulders and look to bounce around behind our partner, or if we can't get our head all the way out, at least by sitting out, we will get closer to the leg and potentially reattach ourselves to a single leg with linked hands, where we'll have a much better chance of finishing. But looking to stand up here and fight the hands isn't a bad option. At least we get back to our feet here, and then that's a really well-timed shot. So a very good thing to think about when you're wrestling and new to wrestling is oftentimes when you back out of a position, that's the best time to shoot. Now, the thing that I would change about this shot is ideally we put our lead knee down. So in this case, Chris's right knee down. We almost have toe-to-toe, which is a good measure for when we should try to shoot our double legs. But you can see that this left knee kind of goes down to the ground. Then we do put our lead knee down, which is good. And ideally, we would be getting our head to the outside a little bit more. And Chris is doing a good job at coming up and looking to build height here. Perhaps circling to the back a little bit too much, but still trying to build height here and ending up with a rear body lock, which is good. And then we try and interrupt our step of Peter's with our knee block. So looking to get this right thigh all the way, or right knee all the way in front of Peter's thigh will interrupt his step. And particularly when Peter's shoulders are far forwards in front of his hips, that's a good idea. We can have our hands linked together on the far side or the near side, but looking to interrupt that step is a great way of returning your partner to the mat. So trying that knee block is good. And then oftentimes what will happen is our partner will kind of move across in this direction in defense of that knee block. So that is a good time for us to use our left knee in front of the other thigh and continue trying the same type of mat return. So Peter's doing a good job at fighting the hands here and looking to separate. We're trying to stay connected. And a little trick that you can do here, when somebody is about to separate your hands, when they bring your hands out wide, we can duck our head underneath the arm and get our head back in front of the chest so that we can reconnect our hands with the body lock. So anticipating that grip break and looking to get our head back towards the chest so that we can link our hands together is good. Using that lead hand as a post on the head is okay. The shoulders is a little bit better, perhaps. Might avoid our partner being able to duck under it quite as easily. Peter's looking to shoot. Pretty defensive, bit of a lazy shot there, but looking to get towards that single leg. And this is a good example of what we can do when we get to our single leg. We can start getting around behind our partner and looking to get to the back, but you can see Peter does a great job of escaping here. So as soon as we get to a single leg spot, reaching and grabbing the far ankle isn't a bad idea, but ideally we want to upgrade our left foot here to a Casoto hook so that we can keep the foot trapped. Our right hand being in front of Peter's right knee there will prevent him from sliding that knee forwards, and then we can look at upgrading our position and getting to two legs. Once our partner starts limp legging that leg out, it's very difficult to stop them from spinning. So trying to keep the right hand on that right knee to prevent it from sliding out would be a good idea. Now Peter looks to circle to the back and does a good job here. We sit to guard and we start looking to play some single X. So really good job getting to that single X position by Chris here. And then what we want to think about is trying to get a very good grip on the ankle. So our Achilles grip wrapped all the way around the ankle before we move to this double outside. You can see that when we have our feet on the outside of the hips, it's easier for our partner to come up and get over the top of us. Not to say that we can't make double outside work, but in general, when we're attacking with a single X type position, I think that having a foot on the hip, so perhaps the left foot here on the hip would be good for Chris, or having that left shin across the body of Peter so that it prevents it from coming up. And also we can use that time to establish our Achilles grip, and we can even scoot our hips underneath his leg a little bit so that we aren't in danger of having our chest roll towards the mat. Basically, when I'm trying to navigate leg locking positions and I can't get rid of the grip that they have on the ankle, if I can force somebody into double outside, tends to be a little bit safer than if they have a foot on the hip, because now our partner is able to start stacking us and get into this kind of smash position. So here, Chris does a good job of recovering. We kind of downgraded from the ankle, and instead we were linking our hands together around the knee here, and using this left hand to frame, keep our partner's weight off us is good. And once we start shifting our hips underneath us and getting that left shin back across the hips, or at least pushing the ribs away from us, that allows us to start getting to a better position here. But something that can help in a spot like this smash position is if we have the chance to get our top hand towards the foot. So in a position like this, if our left hand can reach over for the big toe essentially, then especially if we can keep Peter's knee on the ground, we'll be able to do this big circle with Peter's ankle, and that can help move our partner away from us. So anytime we can keep somebody's foot towards our face, that's going to make it much harder for them to put their head next to our head and start sprawling off us. So always look to control the foot. And the same would be true for this position here, where Peter's basically backstep. We're more or less in the saddle here. If we can control the foot, we'll have a very good control of the rotation of our partner. So a grip that's very common in a saddle to prevent our partner from turning away is trying to control the big toe. If we can use our top hand to pull Peter's big toe towards his knee and keep the side of his foot stuck to our chest, then we will have lateral knee bar opportunities, and we'll also be able to prevent our partner from spinning. Whereas here, when we're kind of concentrating on the back of the knee there, it's a little bit more difficult to salvage this position. And in a spot like this where Peter is trying to come up, controlling the foot is a good way of preventing him from coming up there. So you can see that once we have that foot close to the face here, it's a little bit harder for Peter to come up, and we can start thinking about knee bars and upgrading our leg entanglement position. And again, we're going to the outside position with the foot, which is good for ankle locks. And in this case, we have our foot reaped across in front of our partner's hips. That left foot is able to provide some support and stomp on the legs. So this is going to be a stronger finishing position for Chris, even though perhaps it would be a little bit better with a butterfly archie, that right foot being a butterfly and that left foot being on the hip. But you can see when we have a foot on the hip, we can prevent our partner from smashing us, as opposed to in a double outside position where it's easier for them to bring their chest towards our chest, particularly when we don't have control of the foot. So here, a little bit lazy in our positioning and our posture, but that's okay. Looking to hand fight, trying to get our hands to the inside is a good thing of thinking about when we're wrestling, because that gives us access to our underhooks and our leg attacks. Peter does a good job rushing in for the guillotine. Our first reaction perhaps could be a little bit better. We could try and sprawl and hip check and things like that. But when we are going down, looking to roll our partner through is a good idea. And now this is an important Note with guillotine attacks, which is whenever we have a guillotine, so in this case we have our left arm wrapping up the neck, we want to avoid our right knee being beaten. And by being beaten, I mean if our right leg is pointing in this direction with our knee pointing across the chest, it means that Peter has a very good chance of coming up cross-body, and then we'll have to abandon this guillotine grip. So if we can point our right knee up and get it poking outside the hip here or the ribs, that means we'll have a better chance of using our butterfly hook to sweep our partner over, and we'll be closer to getting that right leg over the back. So we don't want that right knee pointing across our partner's chest. Chris does a good job at pointing that knee out here, but it's a little bit difficult to prevent Peter from going towards a crossbody position when our right foot is trapped in the middle here. So trying to get that right leg unstuck would be good. And now we're kind of keeping very good head position with this guillotine. We have our shoulder forward, our ear forward, and then Peter hops crossbody. So something that we can look to do when our partner is hopping to a crossbody position. We have two main options. One of them is to try and roll our face towards Peter's knee, his left knee there, and we can try and put our face underneath his ribs on the bottom side and swing our legs out in this direction, and then that way our bodies will be in a straight line and we should be able to roll our partner through. So that's a very good option for when our partner's hopping crossbody. The other option that we can do to avoid being stuck in this crossbody position with a guillotine is to try and push Peter's head to the inside of our body with our guillotining arm and try and face our chest towards the mat so that we can get back up to attacking a turtle front head position. But we do want to avoid being stuck in this crossbody position because there's not a whole lot we can do with the guillotine grip when that occurs. So now we wisely let go of the head, and now we are in basically a side control position here, doing a good job of getting that bottom knee and elbow in, perhaps looking for some kind of buggy choke here. But for the buggy choke, we would want this left arm on the inside of our left knee there. So we'll have a better connection. And the other thing with a buggy choke is it's a lot like a normal triangle where we want to make sure that we can't see our partner's shoulders. So if we can scoot our hips towards the camera and try and get their elbow flared out a little bit, that means that when we bring our thigh to touch Peter's ear, the shoulder will be inside of our triangle and it will make it a smaller area for us to try and triangle our legs around. But now Chris kind of wisely abandoning that, getting to a half butterfly position here, and doing a good job of kind of keeping the half guard leg as well as the butterfly hook and trying to perhaps elevate, doing a great job of getting the hands back in front here. And now we want to avoid this knee being smashed across the middle, so trying to keep this left knee either in front of the chest or pointing to the outside. And something that I would say is true for half butterfly and butterfly is that it would be good to have a foot on the hip and start freeing our bottom knee unless we are trying to enter single X on that far leg. But if we have a foot on the hip, that way we have a little bit more space and a little bit more distance control so that we have more time to win the hand fight. And then when we win the hand fight, so perhaps looking for a 2-on-1 on Peter's far arm over here, then we can commit our foot to the butterfly position, and that way we can scoot under for single X and leg attacks. But we want to avoid this knee being smashed, and having this half butterfly position is okay, but having the foot on the hip would be a little bit stronger and less stress on our legs, give us more time to hand fight. The other thing in general about playing half butterfly and butterfly guard is we want to avoid being on our back. So anytime we can get up onto our bottom elbow, say our right elbow in this case, that would be good. But now Peter's trying to smash and we're wisely framing him away. And then this is a very common situation where we are on our back playing a supine guard and we've kind of gone inside position with both feet. So generally that means that we have less distance control and less layers of guard to keep our partner away from us. So if we are supine and our back is on the mat, it would be good to get our feet on the outside of our partner's legs and then start making a grip where we could transition to guards like De La Riva or K-guard. So you can see here, we're kind of playing almost like a waiter guard type position. And this worked out well. In this case, we've gotten to a decent single X, but it's kind of only decent. You can see how Peter's ankle is quite close to our hip there. And maybe if Peter was aware of that when the leg was being sucked in there, he might be able to bring that heel closer to the hip and make it more difficult for us to grab that leg. But the benefit of being on our when we're playing seated guard is that if we get to shin on shin, our armpit will be more above our hip. And that way, when we go to pull our partner's leg in, we're more likely to get their ankle high up in our armpit, adding strength to our Achilles grip and creating a more robust single X for us to maintain and attack from. So in this spot here, this is kind of like a modified waiter type position here with their foot on the inside instead of a De La Riva hook. But something that could be improved upon perhaps is just elevating this leg a little bit more and getting more onto our right side so that we can use that shin to bring Peter's ankle all the way to our armpit before we try and wrap up our Achilles grip. But very well done getting to the single X here. Now Peter's doing a good job at standing up and clearing that foot off the hip. And we look to sit back on our ankle lock. And I think the foot is off the hip in this case, but generally still a good position to get the tap. I think Chris just ran out of time right there. So hopefully this helps, and I'll see you guys next time.